Looks like we're live. Okay, well, welcome to the finale. So I was going to do this last Friday, but there was a slight problem with everything. So what I wanted to kind of do tonight was run through how I set all of this up on my server, how I built it, and then also talk about how I wrapped up this project. So I'm just going to go ahead and poke at the Git history real quick. Oh boy. Yeah, there's a slight issue with OBS tonight. The Windows server is like super laggy on my Mac for some reason right now. So typing things in is not easy. Hold on one moment. Okay, so so these are the commits I've been making over the weekend. So first and foremost, my last stream was last week on Thursday, and then I noticed a whole bunch of problems coming into Friday. First and foremost, I realized that this project could not build whatsoever on any other machine. This was mostly my fault, for one, for not keeping up to date with the README as I was going along with the project, and then also there were a lot of issues trying to find libraries, specifically the pthreads library on my server. Yeah, and I'm not entirely sure like how this project ever built in the first place. I guess when you set up on a Mac, it's a little bit more lenient in terms of how it finds things and how it compiles things together. I have no doubt that C-Line may have played a little bit of a role with that. So essentially, the things I addressed were I fixed the submodule issue, so I finally got that back into the repository. And then originally I had it set as I had it set up to work as through SSH, but I needed to change that to HTTPS so anyone can just pull down the repo and build it right away. Set up the debug or test build to only pulling Criterion when we're going to do actual testing, because wherever we're compiling this application, this library will not exist. So I'm going to go ahead and try to fix that up to kind of put it underneath the debug compile flag. Changed the minimum CMake version so I can get it to work on my server, which is running CMake 3.5 something, whereas my Mac it was like 3.10. So there's a bit of a version mismatch there. And I didn't notice anything different when I changed the version. It seemed to actually work out quite well. Here's the commit where I did the replacing for the SSH for the submodules. I went ahead and cleaned up some include files. Actually flushed out the README a little bit, and I'll do a brief overview of that here shortly. Fixed pthreads to just include the H file. So Mac and Linux have it a little bit differently with how pthreads is pulled in regards to the actual header file. So I changed the CMake to just try to find that header file explicitly and then go ahead and include it. So I did some code updates to fix that in the main.c file. Add additional information to the README. Again, we'll take a look at that here in a minute. But here's the interesting thing. So, so it didn't take me very long to realize that I had memory allocation issues with my application. Once I finally got it built on my Linux box, it kept on crashing because I was trying to overwrite memory that was not correctly allocated in regards to strings in the calloc function call, and Linux did not like that one bit, which is kind of ironic. I mean, I would expect Mac OS X to provide me with similar errors so that way I could catch it sooner, but no. surprisingly, everything worked kind of okay on my Mac, and definitely not okay on my Linux box. So I went ahead and fixed a lot of the memory allocation issues, and not surprisingly, it was all memory allocation issues involving strings. Everywhere else in the application, I was properly allocating the right amount of memory. The off by one error is very, very real when it comes to strings, for me at least, and that was kind of interesting to try to address that so I can get that null terminating character at the end of that. Fix some spelling in the README, and then memory leaks. So this was another interesting find I had. I did have a few memory leaks, but ironically, the memory leaks were, well, right off the bat, and we can go into this a little bit later, but right off the bat, the memory leaks involved a function that I had written in the Lexer called, let's see here, IRC Lexer get current line, and I'll just show that right here in my CLine window right here. This function right here, I had forgotten that allocates a new string to return, so that way we don't manipulate the memory of the original string. I probably could have gotten around that by returning a const to the char, but instead I did a copy and I forgot to free that. So that was like the source of most of the memory issues that I had going on here as far as leaks go, which was kind of interesting. And then lastly, more updates to Elasticsearch to actually get the README all flushed out. So taking a quick look at that README, going to switch windows here again. All right, so let's go ahead and take a quick look at that README. So I went ahead and I added the build dependencies, so everyone who has watched me up to this point can go ahead and actually compile this thing on their system. I wish I had done this a lot sooner, but here it is. This application uses pthreads, libcurl, and Elasticsearch. Elasticsearch is kind of optional, but you're not going to get much use out of this program without it. But you know, it is a GitHub repository, and I have all this underneath MIT, so feel free to remove that functionality as you see fit, should you guys ever decide to use this on your own. I included links to both Elasticsearch and to a criterion here, so for those of you who are interested in compiling this underneath debug version, which I should have named test version, but I got a little lazy and would like to get that installed on their computer to run through the testing files, then by all means go ahead and do that. And then I included actual install commands. So before I get to this note here, first and foremost, get the repository, get the submodule, and for release, all you gotta do is just run cmake list.txt for release. And if you guys want to do the testing, then go ahead and run underneath debug, run make, and all binaries will be found in the bin folder, which is included in this repository as just an empty directory. And this little note here under Linux, I would recommend that whoever wants to run this application go ahead and create a specialized user for it, so that way in case anything happens, at least it'll only be isolated to that one user with restricted permissions. And then lastly, in the README, I added instructions for, I added instructions for setting up Elasticsearch to how this application utilizes it. So I put in a couple of curl commands in there to go ahead and build the index with the appropriate map, and then another command to run to verify that the index was indeed created. I also include a little bit of a license. So, okay, well, that's that for the README. As for the actual code changes, I can go ahead and generate a quick diff here. If I could select that. I was not going to paste it. Oh, geez. Oh, there it goes. Let's see if this works. Okay, so here's me making the updates to the CMake file. Went ahead and this is the path I was talking about. Instead of looking for the pthreads library, which it did originally, go ahead and try to find the header file instead. Move some things around to put all of the criterion stuff underneath debug. Let's see here. Same thing for the executables for the test binaries. Go ahead and also put those underneath debug only. And let's see here. This is all the README additions. I'm going to go ahead and ignore that. So this is what I was talking about with the strings. I stupidly thought that since if a string is 5 characters long, strlen will return 5. But somehow I had it in my head where I thought that 5 was included in the allocation magically, so like it would know to allocate +1 more. I was really dumb, so I went ahead and added +1s to all the colics that I have for my strings. So this was the first issue I ran into building on my box. So I also replaced, anywhere I did mallocs for strings, I also replaced with colic, just so we can get an array, a blanked out array right off the bat that we just write to, so that way there's always a null terminating character in case the string is less than the well, in the event I do any copies, if the copy copies over less characters, the rest of the string is filled with null terminating strings, so it's a-okay in that regard. Here's me changing some include files around. This is a part of that cleanup commit for headers. Here's the memory leak. One of them where I was, oh geez, sorry about that. Like I said, my Mac is just choking right now on this OBS setup of trying to just stream one window. I don't know why it's choking on that. Let's see here. Yeah, so the free message right here. So there was a memory leak where I wasn't freeing a message in the event that everything was done. So I freed everything up to that point, but not the last one. So that was a problem. Here I'm doing an explicit check for the prefix in case the malloc failed. Before I just had the not prefix, and I prefer to be a bit more explicit with that. Let's see. Here I did a little refactoring to accommodate for that length, or for that get current line that I was talking about, where I did a copy of the string as opposed to just returning a constant pointer to it. So I had to move some things around to put in some label to go ahead and free that when everything's all said and done. And that was basically it. Yeah, I didn't need to do this anymore because I addressed with the colic, making sure that everything's all blanked out. I know it may be hard to see me highlight and move my mouse here. And yeah, that's about it. Fix, I guess, the get ignore. Added a space right here. So that was nothing. Trivial update. This was causing a weird issue. I didn't need to do that null check, so I shortened that up. Again, got rid of mallocs for colics. All good stuff. Let's see. More cleanup of headers. Updated my string sanitizing function a little bit too. Went ahead and did the same thing with the colic. doing the +1 to the string length, and then this time I'm just saying if there's an old terminating character, go ahead and try to skip it, so that we keep everything consistent. And added some tests, and that's it. So those were the changes between last stream and now. So it was a lot of trying to get things to build on my server, a lot of trying to fix memory allocation issues and fix memory links and try to actually get a README done. So if anything, this is a little bit of a project retrospective. What did I learn? I learned to do the README as I go and make sure everything builds on different platforms. So maybe in future streams I will definitely try to pay a little bit more close attention to that. Okay, so moving right along, I went ahead and I'm using Ubuntu for my server. Let's see here. I guess it doesn't tell me the version of Ubuntu I'm using, but so I'm using Ubuntu 16.04, I think, LTS for my server, and that's kind of where I did a lot of my compiling and testing on to try to clean things up. So what I went ahead and did was last Friday, before when I was trying to prep for this stream but ran out of time, I got Elasticsearch set up on here. That involved updating Java to 8, and then I think all I needed to do for Ubuntu was pull up apt-get and just install Elasticsearch through that. It was pretty easy. In the GitHub repository, which it's linked down below, in the README there's a link to Elasticsearch. Hopefully that will point everyone in the right direction on how to get it set up on their specific computer. And then following the README instructions, I created the curl commands to go ahead and run and get everything all set up. Let's see. So I ran this curl command already to put the index on there, and just to show you guys that it's actually on here, I'll go ahead and paste it over here to show. There's my index. Now, I did mention to go ahead and create a specific user for this bot, so I did that. So let me just go ahead and get into that directory real quick. I think that's it. Let's see if autocomplete works. Oh, there it is. And then Elastic. Good Lord. I'll have to remember not to try to fix my computer or something to make the Windows server on my Mac not totally cake for a stream. So here is everything. I'm going to go ahead and switch users. I kind of just named everything the exact same. Just to keep everything consistent. Now, one word of caution for Elasticsearch. Elasticsearch does not have any security built into it, really, right off the bat. You usually have to pay for that through their XPack package, but you can still secure Elasticsearch by making sure that it only runs locally on your server, and that it's all firewalled off. So that's what I have going here. So just to show, I think it's 127.0.0.1. This right here is my Elasticsearch instance, but it's all firewalled off. I can't access it through a web browser. So only this application will have access to it, or any other application on the server for that matter. But for now, this is all I have. So I'll just run through actually compiling it. I don't know why I did a list. So I'll just go ahead and demonstrate the compile process. So I'm going to go ahead and remove some files. CMake files, yes, and then I want to remove the cache. Now I probably could have just gone, I don't know why it says protect, oh, because I compiled it as root. Let's see here. I should just be able to get rid of the cache. CMake CACHD. Okay, and then I'm just going to run CMake oops, text. Okay, we'll do this the fun way. Go ahead and remove those. Okay. Do it as root then. And then rm the CMake install CMake, and then rm cache, and then that's all of that. So I'm going to go ahead and get back into my user. Okay, CMake. So it found everything. Everything was generated to build that make file. So I'm going to go ahead and run make, and everything appears to have built perfectly fine. Yep. Cool. And just to demonstrate that I did get rid of a lot of the memory leaks. Now some of them still stick around because the system, or hold on, I have this auto completed. The system will either have crap that, and this is pretty common on Mac, especially. A lot of times things get compiled in happily through the operating system that will add additional stuff to the binaries, and sometimes those things don't get cleared until the end of the program termination, and that's fine, but Valgrind does pick up on it, and it will report those things depending the level of everything set up. In this case, I'm doing a full leak check, so it's going to pull up things from curl that don't get removed until the very end as well. So, but there's not a lot I can do about that. But I did remove all the memory leaks that were an issue. So this error right here, ironically, comes from the library I'm using for the concurrent queue. So there's nothing I can do about that unless I contribute to the actual library maintainer. And here everything is running, so we can see that my bot just got the version flag. I can see it in IRC right now, and then I can type out a message and it'll pop up here. There it is. I just wrote hello world, and it went ahead and added it to my Elasticsearch index. So it's really as easy as that. Now, some of you who are pretty astute may have noticed that that I'm running this program on the actual terminal itself here. So if I close out of this, it's going to disconnect and close everything. It's pretty trivial to run this in the background and then detach it from your SSH session, so that way it can always run. I don't have any means of error logging, so you could always pipe out any messages to any log file that you specify. So here I have nothing lost, and anything that's possibly lost or still reachable is definitely from some of the libraries that are being used. So it should show them, I guess, but I may have turned that off. I don't know. Lots of additional jump issues here. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so anything that's left, there's not much I can do about. Here's one from pthreads. I don't know where this is from. Oh wait, no, that's the call stack for when I terminated. But yeah, yeah, that's it. So, you know, go ahead and run this underneath its own user. But one thing I didn't mention yet that is probably worth mentioning, it might be wise to take a look at the main C file. Here's all the settings I have set up for the bot, and maybe I should add this to the README, but maybe, you know, to finally kick this off and put it in the wild, I'll go ahead and do the simplest thing possible and add an additional header file that this main file will include, and it'll just contain all the various settings. So and then users, you guys specifically, could go in there and edit these things however you want to suit your specific needs. This is the channel. This is the actual command to connect to Freenode with some sort of message, I guess. I don't know. Nickname, password, port, and IP address. So all pretty easy stuff to edit and to compile and get going for yourself. I've been paying close attention to the actual stream chat tonight, and I haven't seen any messages come by. But I know this is a short. This is a shorter part, but that's just because you know, this is finally wrapped up. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to go ahead and run this bot for about a week on some server, probably Freenode, in some channel that I have no clue about, and maybe then we can go ahead and, or I can go ahead and create another video to share the results of what I found. Possibly create some Elasticsearch queries to, you know, kind of look around. So that's all I have. So thanks to all those who have watched this on YouTube. Thanks to all those who have contributed in chat throughout the course of the series. And it's been fun, and I'm looking forward to doing the next one, hopefully with less bugs and mistakes. But yeah, that never happens in programming. So with that said, this will be video 29, and this is the last one for now until I show the results. I don't know how to close, so it's always sad when a project gets finished, but also fun at the same time. So okay, well, thanks for watching. YouTube links are down below. GitHub is down below. And this is Elastic IRC Bot. Thanks for watching.